All right, guys, we got some breaking bad news on the World War III front, and this is the kind of story I'm very hesitant to talk about on this channel for the channel's sake, but we got to do it because we're entering very, very dangerous waters here. And I can tell you that my sources, who are close to the sources, tell me that I'm on the right path in terms of my assessment of the severity of this situation. Okay, and that's all I can say about that. But 17 kilograms of explosives were intended to kill Vladimir Putin, according to Bild Research, a German news agency. The Ukrainian Secret Service attempted to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin with a kamikaze drone on Sunday. So not months ago when the war was really, really raging. Sunday. Understand the timeline of events. What else has happened this week? Quite a bit. A bomb detonated in St. Petersburg. It appears as though it might have been a drone intended for an airbase in that region. The Russians are trying to play it down. Anything the Russians try to play down, it likely was a legit attack attempt because they don't want to spook the population. Anyways, they're trying to chalk it up to unexploded World War II ordnance or something like that. But yesterday, President Putin rushing to the Kremlin with his motorcade, allegedly. There's video of it. Is it true? It doesn't really matter. If this is true, then this is absolutely terrifying, because understand what the implications are. If this is where we're at in terms of deconfliction potential, if we are trying to assassinate each other's leaders at this point in the game, then people better, I don't want to say, what more can I say at this point? You know, you better be prepared. Yada, yada, yada. You heard it all before. But guys, this is huge. Okay, although the assassination attempt failed, the attempt is being kept secret by Russian authorities. Now, this was a drone. There were several drones, in fact, discovered in and around Moscow. They had C4, about 17 kilos of C4, and apparently this particular drone was intended for a place that Putin was scheduled to visit. Now, because the Kremlin is so paranoid, and rightfully so, they tend to encrypt a lot of Putin's schedule. So if they say he's going to be somewhere on one day, he might show up a few days before, maybe a week before. It's always by surprise. So, but the likelihood of this drone actually successfully hitting its target was almost slim to none. But if this is the intention, and this was a top-down directive orchestrated by what Bild Research is saying is the Ukrainian Secret Service, if that directive was given by Zelensky, and I know we're getting kind of out into the weeds now, but if that directive was greenlit by NATO and the United States, recall just a few days ago, I believe it was Boris Pistorius, the German defense minister, who tacitly gave the green light to Ukraine to attack within Russia. And it's a war. So, of course, you know, the Ukrainians don't need that approval, but understand what this means. This means that that call by Xi Jinping to Zelensky was a last Hail Mary attempt, just like I predicted. And we're getting down to crunch time. I would say that playtime is approaching its end with this situation. And the stunning thing is that nobody's talking about this in the media. They're not talking about, they're talking about Putin being paranoid and paying no attention to the Russian history and, just minimizing every Russian concern. Oh, they're just setting up air defense in Moscow. Oh, they're just, checking their bunkers and doing an inventory of their bunkers and moving this here and that there. Nothing, it's like a big cartoony joke. Okay, so we better hope that the people who are attempting to force some sort of peace talks are successful. But the inevitability of this seems quite imminent at this point in time. Now, I don't know what more to say with respect to this. Ukraine expert Sergei Somleny to Bild, it is clear that a precision strike against the Russian head of state with a kamikaze drone is an almost impossible action, But the very fact that such a drone would reach a place where Putin plans to stay is a slap in the face for the Russian dictator. It's the intention, it's the thought that counts, as they say. Now, what else is going on right now? Well, right now, Russia is putting soldiers on top of the nuclear reactors in Zaporozhye. You know, the nuclear reactors that are only working functionally because of one power source that is powering them, and I believe that power source comes from Ukraine. There is only a couple ways that Ukraine can go on this counteroffensive. It's going to be completely hopeless for them to try to go for Donetsk or Lugansk in the Donbass. Those places are just too dug in. The people are too tough. They're too hardened. I think they don't even think they can actually take that part of the country back, because they haven't since 2014. Anyways, they're going to have to go south. So they're already forming this bridgehead on the Russian side of the Dnieper River in and around Kherson, a 20-kilometer bridgehead, according to some sources. And this is huge. I don't know why this isn't big news in and of itself. But the only other way they can really come without forming like a bottleneck and trying to take a bridge, as far as I know, I'm not a military guy, but, you know, trying to cross water, it's very difficult. The way they have to do it is around Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And if the Russians are putting guys with guns on top of the nuclear reactors, then clearly that's, what do they call it? A human shield. Okay, sort of, or nuclear shield. I guess you're going to force the drawing of fire. Now, the thing with these nuclear reactors is they're built to withstand, and don't quote me on this, they're built very tough. They're very well fortified. And they're built to withstand like a jumbo jet hitting them at full speed. So small arms fire is not going to do anything to these reactors. But this is going to be in the news, okay? And I do believe it bears repeating that this Chinese attempt to broker some last-minute peace deal is very concerning. And I can tell you that there are people who are working very diligently right now, overtime, and they're rushing to try to figure something out, because this situation has the possibility to go very, very bad very, very quickly. You need to understand that there are think tanks in the United States who want to balkanize Russia. There's nothing that says existential threat to your country more than the assassination of your leader and a plan to balkanize and break it up. Okay, that's called World War III. What I think is going to happen is Russia might call our bluff and do a conventional strike on NATO, because look at how much we've tested them. Look how many red lines we've crossed. And I'm not saying what they've done is good. I'm not saying they are not deserving of those red lines being crossed. I'm just saying they've been incredibly patient when it comes to the red lines that they've imposed in terms of their response. It's been mostly proportionate so far. Now, this is something to be mindful of, that they may in fact target a American military base. They might engage in hybrid warfare. They may do some large-scale cyber attack. We may start seeing satellite warfare, because if the Ukrainians are utilizing American recon planes and satellites, Starlink or otherwise, apparently Starlink's been shut down several times already, then that is of critical importance as well. These are things that could bring the United States into the conflict. In addition to that, there are rumors, just rumors now, that when this counteroffensive happens, that the NATO and the Americans are planning on assisting more than they're making out, perhaps. Volunteers, plainclothes volunteers. The situation with the Russian stationing soldiers atop the nuclear reactors, that's a sign. Just like the assassination attempt of Vladimir Putin is a very big sign. Apparently the Ukrainians, this is according to Russian media now, attempted to attack a Kursk nuclear power plant with a drone. Now that could mean a lot of things. A nuclear power plant is a big place. Was something around? Was it 5 kilometers from the nuclear power plant? Regardless, things are heating up. Now, according to Maria Zakharova, the Russian foreign minister, when she uses the words nuclear, you pay attention. When Medvedev does, it's kind of like, okay, it must be Tuesday. But when she does it, it's important. She says that Russia does not intend to take the path of nuclear escalation. In its standoff with the West over Ukraine, but others should not test its patience. We will do everything to prevent the development of events according to the worst scenario, but not at the cost of infringing on our vital interests. Is the assassination of your president, or at least the thought of assassinating your president, is that something that's a vital interest, and not having your country balkanized? I think so. That constitutes a threat to a nation's existence. Threat to a nation's existence as much as anything else does. The ordnance that was exploded outside St. Petersburg just the other day, that's been confirmed. I talked about that last night. Was intended for an air base in and around St. Petersburg. The Russians are brushing this off. Oh, maybe it was like World War II unexploded ordnance or something like that. Okay, we know that they're full of shit. The Russians are always going to try to minimize these things. Media outlets do not rule out the possibility that the explosion at St. Petersburg was caused by a Second World War era shell. The reason why Belgorod comes to mind is because the Ukrainians are talking about, or some elements in Ukraine are talking about actually going on the offensive into Russia, into Belgorod. So the question remains, why is Putin trying to cover this up? Is it that the Russians are wise enough to perhaps parse out that there might be rogue elements at the helm of the Ukrainian nation who are, not representing the people as a whole, and this is why they haven't responded most aggressively? But who knows? I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments section below. In other news, the Iranians have seized a vessel, a oil tanker. This is the sixth one they've done in the last few years, so this is not like, oh no, the war is going to start right away. This is something that happens. The sixth since 2019, I believe. This one is an American one, so of course that's an important factor. They'll likely give it back, but, just one more data point of escalation. West Virginia opens office in Taiwan with an eye on defense cooperation. So now states are starting to partner with Taiwan to create weapons to fight the Chinese. What's the worst that could happen? And the U.S. is resuming large-scale production of plutonium pits for nuclear weapons. Spain is seeing some unusually high hot weather and drought, 39 degrees Celsius in April. It's not Dubai, it's Spain. Yes, it's warm there, but it's irregularly warm there. So all I can say is that this is going to be a hot year. And get your air conditioners while you can. It's going to be hot for a variety of reasons. Let's hope it's not, nuclear bomb hot. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.